Good evening. I'd like to call the February 12th, 2025 Town Board meeting to order. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dobson is going to be late. Mr. Mastriani?
Present.
Mrs. Galucci?
Present.
Mr. Schwab?
Present.
And Mrs. Collins.
Present. Thank you, Ms. Marco. A quorum is present. Tonight we have our former CSCA Union President, Gary Costanzo, so I'm hoping he will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'm going to move to privilege of the floor. Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak?
I think you're just going to give me the little clipboard.
Please remember to keep your comments to around 4 minutes. Around 3.5 minutes, you'll see my hand go up.
Darlene Geloso?
Good evening, Darlene Geloso. I live on Ferguson Street. Is that better?
I think so. The closer you are, the better.
This is my third night doing this, so. I'm here tonight to speak for SNAP benefits. You know we have a very, very severe food insecurity, including working people, senior citizens. It's affecting everybody, and we need some help. Okay. I am 66 years old. I live in Rotterdam, New York. I live on Social Security disability. That's $1,400 a month. I'm also raising a 38-year-old autistic son. Growing up with a single mom back in the 60s, we got powdered milk and cheap bricks of cheese. She remarried and we worked in the family business. I suffered great trauma growing up that changed my DNA, and I also ended up being a single mom of 2 children. I had to leave an abusive relationship. I was raising 2 small children. One was diagnosed with autism. I needed help. I worked 2 jobs, not paying well, and as an educator for the school with special needs students, where my son was going to school, I could work when he had school. There was no after-school programs at that time were available. Then in 2020, I was injured at work, and now a year on workman's comp, not much pay. I went back to work with a pay cut and loss of benefits. I ended up going out on permanent disability. I started using food banks, Schenectady street soldiers, and going back to needing assistance. The amount of food insecurity, even with working people, is in crisis. Most working people are just 1 paycheck, emergency, or injury away from disaster. Even those working are struggling to stay above water. Food banks lines are increasing every week. I'm in the fight for basic wage, affordable housing, and food security. The amount of misinformation and the stigma that is present is very widespread. People believe a lot of misuse in the system, but that is not true. People need help. There is abuse, but it's not as major as everybody makes it out to be. People in the richest and most powerful country in the world, this should not be happening. There's more enough to go around. Time for change. I'm asking we start with the local legislators to fund that SNAP minimum go to $100 a month. The city of Schenectady and county of Schenectady are supporting people in need of food. We're asking to approve Supervisor Collins' resolution. I will leave you with this challenge to see what $100 will buy for food and how long it can be stretched. Go to a food bank, stand in line in freezing temps over an hour or more, and then try to figure how you're going to get everything home because the majority walk and have no transportation. Then fill out the paperwork for SNAP, HEAP, and go to Social Service Department. Sit and see how long it takes, and make yourself educated what it takes and what paperwork is required. The actual amount persons receive can be given. And if you go beyond just a bit, you could immediately lose what little you get. So trying to get into a better place is so much more difficult. You probably would be surprised. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Helen Rose?
It's actually lost.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But I got short along the way. So, well, anyways, I'm Helen Wass, and I'm a resident here in Rotterdam. I moved here about a little over 5 years ago, and it's a great place. It's a great place to live. I've never felt more welcomed. I love my neighbors. I love my new friends. They're my family. I'm at the Rotterdam Community Center. I do stuff with them, and I love it. But I am one of those working citizens that just don't make enough money to buy food. By the time I get done with all my bills, my mortgage, car repairs, because I can't afford a new car, and then don't forget about NIMO. NIMO is just, oh my, you know, and by the time you get everything done, then I figure out what I have left. You know, and I'm 53 years old. I am on my way to retirement, and it scares me to death to think where I'm going to be. You know, I probably won't be able to. I also do have medical issues, but you know, that's just going to be put on hold until I get a retirement or something. And I've had a lot of help through the pantries and stuff like that, especially Rotterdam Community Center. They helped me out a lot. There's times where I was just like, wow, what am I going to do? I do have a dog at home. He does eat a lot, but he's, and it's just hard to try to get it together and be on top of things. And now I don't receive food stamps because I make a little bit too much money. You know, and a little bit could help me out a lot. I don't have a family. I just have my dog. And no children, never did, divorced. And it just seems harder and harder to survive as a single female in this day and age with a career job. I've been at my state job for 18 years, you know, so it's not like I'm not working. I work all the time, as much as I can. But it's hard. And it'd be definitely would love the support for passing stamps. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dustin Longmire.
Thank you so much, everyone. Reverend Dustin Longmire for Oak Street. If y'all are, whether you're a Catholic or a Lutheran like me or a Methodist, anyone that uses the Revised Common Lectionary, any denomination, around the world this Sunday, you'll hear the following verses in your church. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Friends, we are, as I've said before, and as our advocates have said so well, we are living in the worst affordability crisis since the Great Depression, for many of us. I was just bringing communion to one of my members, a veteran, who is now who's lived his whole life in Rotterdam and is trying to, he's aged out of being able to live in his family home. He can't keep it up anymore as a senior. And he is, to get into supportive housing, it's a 5-year wait in our town. To get into senior housing, it's a 2-year wait in our town. I am so thankful for our community advocates for bringing to the attention of all of us these deep affordability needs. The folks you're hearing tonight are our community advocates. They were trained at Messiah Lutheran Church in the Rotterdam Community Center this past summer through a program sponsored by the Schenectady Foundation, and trained to share their stories in a way that will lead to change. And I'm so thankful for them because they have led to change in a bipartisan way in our county, even in just the last few days alone. On Monday, the city of Schenectady passed a resolution supporting our state legislature increasing funding for food pantries and the SNAP minimum benefit. Yesterday, our county legislature, in a bipartisan way, signed a similar letter. I'm so thankful for Supervisor Collins considering putting forward a similar resolution at your next meeting. I could not strongly urge you to work to pass that more and urge our folks in Albany to address this affordability issue in a bipartisan manner. I also would point out that I would encourage, and I know a couple of you have already gotten back to me, but we have also finished a
community needs analysis. That was the other aspect of our community advocates program. That was completed with Siena College. And on Monday, the February 24th at 7 p.m. at the Rotterdam Community Center, the researchers from Siena College will be presenting their findings to our neighbors, everyone. And I believe I sent a copy of this community needs analysis to you all. I'll just read a couple highlights of that. 229 members of our community responded to that needs analysis. They were across the income spectrum. 62% cited more affordable childcare as a deep need in our community. Nearly 80% of folks, and this is actually across the income spectrum, reported some level of financial struggle amidst the affordability crisis. Many of the folks responding were homeowners, but the folks that were not homeowners in our community, especially qualitatively, one person said, we need safe and affordable housing with centers of community for folks to practice being good neighbors. So I would encourage you all to join us on Monday the 24th at 7 p.m. We'll be live streaming that as well. You can watch a video of it afterwards. To talk with the researchers who did this at Siena College and also consider next steps for how we can address the affordability crisis right here in our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Morgan.
Thomas Morgan, Day Road. Good evening, everybody. Later this evening, you will be voting for a change of zone at Peter Road. I just wanted to finally give just a bit of history and some final thoughts on that. There were a couple of buildings in 1950. The developer zoned a couple of places, multifamily. There was no provision for High Bridge or any kind of comprehensive plan. But then in 1955, all the way through to the comprehensive plan in 2022, if my math is right, that's 67 years. There was always a provision in there that said High Bridge Road, High Bridge neighborhood should retain its zoning, that it was a primarily single residence, R1, what we call today an R1 district. But yet, from 55 to 22, 10 properties were change of zone to multifamily. Those account for, I believe it's about 65 rental units that are already in High Bridge. So even though we had a comprehensive plan that said we should keep this in R1 district, we went and crammed some multifamily units in there anyway. It's come up again and again, not just with this project, but previous projects that were rejected. Zoning is to protect property values, control density, health and welfare. Nothing about why the owner can't afford to build properties there. Okay, that's and also the law, it's not a law really, but I believe it is from New York State, that when you're voting for a zone change, whether it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan or not, if you vote for a zone change, your vote must include a statement that states a clear benefit to the community. And the applicant came up with some, they came up with a few, what they claim are benefits, in support of the Hamburg Street project, you know, the development there. I mean, with 2,000 houses in Colebrook and Stonegate Manor and 750 houses in Highbridge, yeah, I don't know what 20 units are going to do. So I honestly don't see a benefit to it. If you guys know of any, I'd like to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brenda Terosian.
Brenda, I'm just going to talk like two minutes about the SNAP program, which in Schenectady County is a major joke. Last year I was getting $100 a month. I had to recertify it. Now it's down to $26. Somebody tell me, what can $26, that's for the whole month. That's for the whole month. So you guys figure, I don't know if you guys have any clout with the county or not, but, you know, only because I work 2 hours a week to make ends meet, and I get penalized, and I'm on Social Security. So somebody tell me how you spend $26. Yes, I go to the community place. I do go to the food bank. Tell me what anybody can buy with $26 a month to eat and live. Anyways. I'm going to talk about Peter Road. And I know it's a done deal. I know you're going to pass this right through, because evidently this board does not listen to the residents. And that's why residents do not come to these meetings, because why bother? We voice our opinion, we voice what we don't want, and you guys will go and pass this through. And I don't understand why. 20 condos. I know Mr. Dobson's told me his view that you can't buy a house for $300,000 or $500,000. But these condos are going to be $300,000 or more, plus the maintenance fee. I call it a maintenance fee. They got a high name for it, and that's probably around 180, unless it's changed, because my aunt and uncle lived in 2 condos. And the last time, it was $180 a month for maintenance fee. A month. According to Mr. Dobson, this is aimed at seniors and young professionals, couples. I'm coming into Rotterdam. I don't want to, why would a young person want to go into a condo? They're going to have youngsters, they're going to have kids. There's no playgrounds, there's no backyard for them to go out. It's a friggin' building. I know, it's a done deal. It's done. I know you guys are going to pass it through. And evidently, money is a little more important than what the residents say. This is a big tax deal for Rotterdam. But people in that area don't want it. I don't want it. You're going to tell me that the traffic isn't going to be bad? Come down Hamburg Street in a little roundabout around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and even now, and see if you can get around to come down Curry Road. They just pass right through. They don't care. I'm just a little, you know, Mr. Dobson told me, or told people, that I should learn about government. Damn, I'm learning, and I'm learning a lot from Rotterdam's government. I'm learning that the government, whether it's town of Rotterdam, whether it's in Schenectady, whether it's the federal government, you guys don't care about the people who you're supposed to be helping. You don't care. And I don't understand that, because this board claimed that they care. One more thing. Mr. Mastriani, I cannot go into a store or shoveling my driveway without somebody stopping and saying Why is Mr. Mastriani still on the board? They want him off. It's not me. It's not me. I go into the dollar store. I go into Hannaford. And people stop me. I want to know, Mr. Mastriani, not wait till November. I want to know when you're going to leave.
Andrew Brick.
Hi, good evening. Andy Brick from Brick Law Firm on behalf of Peter Road LLC, Corey Lewandowski. With me tonight is our project engineer, Brett Steenberg. We're here this evening to answer any remaining questions the board may have. We know we're on the agenda for possible consideration, so we appreciate that, but we are here if there are any remaining questions. And I did also want to mention to the board, my firm has been involved with just about every condominium project in the town of Rotterdam in the last 30 years, beginning with White Birch off of Helderberg, right up until the crossings, which is being built off of Gilroy Road as we speak. And in every single one of those projects, there was community concern, there was neighborhood concern about how the project would impact the neighborhood. So, each time, valid concerns from the neighbors have been raised, just as the Highbridge area has raised concerns here. If you look today at each and every one of those projects, look at White Birch, look at Putnam Village, look at Edgewood, which is right in the middle of a neighborhood, look at Stablegate, look at Homestead, look at any of the condominium projects in Rotterdam. They've melded and meshed very well into the community, and they're an asset to the community, and Rotterdam residents appreciate that they're here. We think Peter Road will provide that same advantage to the town of Rotterdam, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
That's it, who signed up, but I have to,
Excuse me, I think you missed my name, Melissa Anderson.
I'm sorry. Oh, I am so sorry.
That is
Oh
all
my
right.
goodness, I'm so sorry. Thank you, I'm so sorry again.
That's okay. So my name is Melissa Anderson. I live near Carmen Park in Rotterdam. And I've been here about almost 20 years now. When my kids were small, I got downsized from a local major company. It took me 3 years to find another job because I had a very specific position and I had 2 small children. I had to manage a position and affordable child care, which was very hard to find. I found a new job after 3 years. I'd used my savings, I'd used my retirement, I had gone into debt, I had to file bankruptcy, and 10 years later, I am still trying to catch up. I did get a new job after 3 years. My new job paid about 1/3 of my previous income, but at that point, I took what I could get. It was in Albany. I had to drive there every day, which meant extra daycare for my children, gas money. My kids were about 5, and they were allergic to wheat and dairy at the time as well. So I want you to keep that in mind over the next bit of this conversation. Because I did apply for assistance. I provided all the paperwork. I buried my bank account, my household expenses, my sold, and I was awarded $23 a month. That's approximately 3/4 a day for an average month. Now let's talk about what you can do with those. One of the previous speakers talked about how hard it is to make that money work. So 5 quarters will get you a single box of pasta, no sauce. Gluten-free, incidentally, is about 16 quarters. 8 quarters can buy a small bag of rice. Forget fruits and vegetables because they're just out of reach altogether on that kind of money. Now you can see how quickly those quarters go, and this was 7 years ago. Sadly, that minimum amount is still $23. And it's so low, it's absurd. Honestly, the only reason I went through the hassle and the invasiveness of the application every 6 months was because it guaranteed we were able to get free school meals. And at that time, they were not available for everyone. Fortunately, they are now, but at the time they were not. So when I got a raise, guess how much? It was $0.25 an hour. That gave me a bump of a whole $520 a year. So we lost our SNAP benefits, which meant we lost our free school meals because we were no longer eligible for those. And now I was paying $60 a week to feed my kids breakfast and lunch. I paid it as long as I could because $3 a meal cost less than buying and preparing meals that worked for food allergies. Now, I was already visiting the produce pantry at the community center every Friday. I even got my job to let me adjust my hours so that I could leave early and make it there while there was still some produce to be given out. I now also have to go to 2 other pantries each month because you can't always put off the mortgage to buy the groceries. And you have to put gas in the car, you can't get to work. You can't take the bus because now I work in Latham, and that was an hour and a half on 2 different buses to get to work the other day when my car was unavailable. So these food banks are essential to keeping my family fed. And more people show up every time. Last Friday, more than 100 people waited in frigid weather for the chance at some fruits and vegetables. Seniors bundled up against the wind, kids hiding in their parents' coats, all of us grateful for the help. But as prices go up even more and funding becomes more and more limited, these food pantries can't continue to help all of us who are food insecure. So I'm sharing my story because I'm one of many who struggle every day to feed myself and our families. And to help you understand the realities of it, we need to raise the minimum SNAP benefit to at least $100 a month, and to fully fund the HIPNAP and Nourish New York at $75 million each to help cover the food banks. So please, I urge you to pass the resolution that Supervisor Collins is putting forward next week to help this happen. Please add your voices to ours, because life should be about more than just 3 quarters a day.
Thank you.
I have some emails that I have to read. As a 56-year resident of Rotterdam, former owner of the Edgewood Family Restaurant, and a real estate agent with over 20 years of experience, I've had the opportunity to witness our town's growth and transformation over the decades. It is with this perspective that I write to you in support of a proposed development of new townhouse condominiums along Peter Road, a housing option that is urgently needed to address the evolving needs of our community. Through my work in real estate, I have observed a growing demand for housing that combines affordability with low maintenance. Many of our residents, including retirees looking to downsize and young professionals hoping to establish roots in Rotterdam, are struggling to find homes that meet their needs. The introduction of townhouse condominiums will fill this gap, providing an option that aligns with the changing preferences and financial realities of our population. Beyond my professional experience, I have had numerous conversations with community members who echo this sentiment. They emphasize the need for housing that allows them to remain in the town they love while adapting to their current stage of life. The proposed development offers a solution that would enhance the accessibility and inclusivity of our housing market, ensuring that Rotterdam remains a place where people of all ages and backgrounds can live. From an economic standpoint, the addition of well-planned townhouse and condominiums would bring low-term benefits to our community. These homes would attract new residents who are eager to contribute to our local economy while allowing existing residents to stay connected to the town they call home. Moreover, such developments can be designed to complement the character of our town, preserving its charm while addressing modern housing needs. I urge the board to consider the significant impact this development could have on Rotterdam by supporting this initiative. You would be taking an important step toward meeting the needs of our current and future residents, fostering sustainable growth, and ensuring our community's continued vitality. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration. Please feel free to contact me if you require additional information or insights regarding this matter. Joanne Adamek, a licensed real estate salesperson from Berkshire Hathaway Homes. Dear members of the Town Council, I am writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed development of 20 condominium units at 759 Peter Road. Having lived in Rotterdam for the past 7 years, I have witnessed a noticeable increase in multifamily dwellings, while single-family structures have not seen similar growth. This trend is altering the character of our community in ways that concern me deeply. As someone originally from Amsterdam and after some time in other parts of New York State, I returned in 2016 to work in Albany. I was drawn to purchase a house in Rotterdam because of its reputation as a community of families in single-family homes, not condos. On the Town Rotterdam homepage, the slogan proudly proclaims, "Rotterdam is a nice place to live and work." This resonates with the family-oriented values and quiet charm that has historically defined our town. I feel that this development would undermine that identity and the principles this slogan represents. The addition of 20 condominium units will inevitably lead to a significant increase in traffic along High Bridge and Peter Roads, areas already facing challenges with speeding and congestion. This added traffic poses safety risk for pedestrians, cyclists, and residents, particularly during peak hours. The other addition of a Stewart's shop directly across High Bridge Road will compound the safety issue. Safety issue. The proposed development requires changes to existing zoning regulations, which were established to reserve the area's character as a neighborhood or single-family homes. Allowing this project to proceed sets a concerning precedent, undermining the protections and stability these zoning laws provide. This neighborhood is predominantly composed of single-family homes, providing a quiet and family-friendly environment. A 20-unit condominium complex is entirely out of scale and character with the surrounding area, threatening the very qualities that make this community desirable. Finally, Rotterdam has been known for its strong community of families and single-family residences. The increasing number of multifamily dwellings is changing the fabric of our town. It is crucial to preserve the family-oriented atmosphere that makes Rotterdam unique and appealing. I urge the town board to consider the long-term impact of this development on our community's safety, character, and sustainability. I respectfully request that you deny approval for this proposal and prioritize the preservation of our neighborhood's integrity. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Amy Burnell. The proposed condominium project invites reflection on its social impact. Can it meet the needs of seniors looking to right-size, divorced community members, and first-time home buyers seeking affordable housing? All groups benefit. Senior avoid exterior maintenance, while others enjoy lower cost of home ownership. Shared maintenance managed by professionals adds to the appeal of a condominium living. Tax revenue also favors condos. A 20-unit project could generate $110,000 annually compared to $48,000 from 4 single-family homes. With rising costs for pensions and infrastructure, such projects benefit the entire town, not just nearby residents. Condominiums address affordability challenge in a time of high construction costs. They offer seniors manageable living options, as do with first-time buyers and newly divorced adults, at a lower entry point into home ownership. The proposed site, located on Peter Road off High Bridge Road, aligns with the area's historic mix of residential, commercial, and multifamily properties. This development reflects changing housing needs while maintaining the community character. In summary, this project provides affordable housing, increased tax-based revenue, and a solution for evolving housing demands, benefiting both residents and the town as a whole. Paul R. Bowers, a licensed associate real estate broker. On behalf of Peter Road LLC, applicant for the above zoning request, thank you for the opportunity to speak at the recent public hearing. Since both project engineer Brett Steenberg and I presented various data points during our presentation, I just wanted to follow up and provide to you the source material for the information we presented. Pursuant to Institute of Traffic Engineers Trip Generation Manual 11th edition, our project will generate a total of 12 vehicle trips in the peak PM hour of traffic. This means our project will add 1 vehicle every 5 minutes to the Peter Road intersection. 12 cars an hour will not create any impact upon existing traffic conditions and is far, far less trips than what will be generated by the new Stewart shop. As I stated at the hearing, the condominiums units will increase property values within the Peter Road and High Bridge area. They will be offered for sale in $300,000 to $350,000 price range. Sales of these condominium units will increase the sales price values for homes in the immediate surrounding neighborhood. Attached, you will find data showing that the average sale price in the area was $271,636 for the last 12 homes sold. It was wrong for the Planning Commission to find that our proposal could negatively impact traffic or reduce property values. Neither one of these conclusions is correct and calls into question the validity of this negative recommendation regarding our rezone request. At the public hearing, I also quoted from your recently enacted comprehensive plan. Our project complies with multiple aspects of the goals and recommendations of the comprehensive plan. Attaches a copy of this section that I read into the record. I would also like to take this opportunity to correct misinformation that appeared in the Daily Gazette regarding who actually owns Peter Road LLC. The sole member of Peter Road LLC is Corey Lewandowski, owner of Charleau Builders Incorporated, a second-generation family-owned home building company. Corey was born and raised in the town of of Rotterdam. He raised his 3 daughters in their home that he owned for years on Moraga Road, and they all attended Chalmont schools. His company has built hundreds of homes throughout the town, including such well-known neighborhoods as Sunrise Estates, Caroline Manor, Becker's Crossing, and Mohawkville Manor. Corey is a well-known and extremely well-respected member of the Rotterdam business community and has been for decades. A significant number of Rotterdam residents reside in quality homes built by Corey and his family's company. The Daily Gazette apparently confused Corey's company with a company that was his landlord when his office was located in Rotterdam on West Camel Road. Corey is the sole person seeking to rezone his LLC and will be the builder who constructs the condos. Corey utilizes local subcontractors who are also well-known Rotterdam companies. Construction of this project will employ local labor and subcontractors, providing much-needed job opportunities to Rotterdam residents. As you likely are aware, the number of building permit applications has steadily decreased in Rotterdam and throughout the Capital District in the last few years. This project is an opportunity to both create and help and keep jobs in the town of Rotterdam. Thank you in advance for your consideration of this additional information as you deliberate upon our rezone request. Thank you all for your public service to the town of Rotterdam. Brick Law Firm, Andrew Brick. I just got to take a drink.
You can take a 2-minute rest if you want.
My name is Corey Lewandowski, and I'm the president of Charlotte Builders, a family-owned and operated home building company founded in Rotterdam, New York for over 50 years. My family and I have proudly built homes in and around Rotterdam, contributing to generations of safe, thriving communities where families can grow, connect, and create lasting memories. Both my wife and I were born and raised in Rotterdam, and we decided to raise our 3 daughters in the same community. All of us attended Chalmont School, and over the years we've enjoyed being active participants and supporters of local activities, whether coaching sports teams or supporting programs like the Girl Scouts, Rotterdam Girls Softball, Rotterdam Carmen Little League, and the Boys and Girls Club. My commitment to Rotterdam goes beyond just where my business began. It's the community that has shaped the passion I bring to every project. We've always believed in the value of getting involved, and now as a business we proudly continue to support and give back to this community for future generations. While I typically rely on my project team to handle municipal approvals and prefer to remain behind the scenes, I felt it was necessary to address misinformation published in the Daily Gazette on Monday, January 20th. To clarify, I am the sole owner of Peter Road LLC, which owns 759 Peter Road, and I am the applicant seeking the rezoning. The newspaper incorrectly associated me with PF Management, my former landlord at 141 West Campbell Road, when I previously rented office space for many years. PF Management is not involved in my business endeavors or this project. Throughout my career as a home builder, I have committed to sourcing and supporting local businesses, contractors, and employees. This dedication to working with the local communities has been and will continue to be a cornerstone of my approach, including for the Peter Road project. I firmly believe that our proposed condominium development will benefit the town, its residents, and its future. This project is designed to meet the evolving needs of our community by providing maintenance-free living options for those looking to downsize while also attracting new residents to Rotterdam. Moreover, the project will generate local construction jobs, stimulate the economy, and expand the town's much-needed tax base. It is my hope that this project will not only align with the vision of Rotterdam's growth, but also enhance our community's reputation as a nice place to live and work. I remain committed to collaborating with the town board, local businesses, and residents to ensure this project is a success for all stakeholders. Thank you for your time and consideration. I welcome the opportunity to meet with you or the community to provide further clarification or address any concerns. Corey Lewandowski, President. This was put into my 24-hour Dropbox outside. I don't know who sent it. Supervisor and town board members, on your upcoming vote on changing zone on Peter Road, there is one major concern with this move. You have to realize if you change 3 acres to allow 20 apartments or condos across the street, there is almost 14 acres of farmland. Once you change the zone, you will not be able to refuse the zone, change the zone across the street where 60 to 80 apartments or condos could be built. This move will destroy a neighborhood and change what we do with Rotterdam, a nice place to live and work. Not. You have a choice as to what your legacy will be, a board that cares about its residents and families, or a board that is more interested in helping developers make lots of money and destroying a neighborhood. Remember, a lot of these residents voted for you and believed in you that you would protect them in their neighborhoods. Vote the right way for the residents, not someone's bank account. That's it. There's no person. They didn't sign.
Okay, is there any, that's everything, Diane?
That is everything.
Take a sip of water.
Maybe.
All right, then I'm closing privilege of the floor, and we'll start with our resolution. Diane, you want me to read the resolutions at least for the first reading?
I'm good. I'm good.
Jeff, you were absent the last meeting, so no, you can't vote on the minutes. Just a reminder.
We got that all straight. All right. Our first resolution is resolution number 83 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
Accepting the town board meeting minutes.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mrs. Galucci. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dodson? Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstained.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 84 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To accept revenue for the town clerk's office for January 2025.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mrs. Galucci. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 85 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To appoint Tammy Whalen to the CSEA position of confidential secretary to the Director of Public Works.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes. And Mrs. Whalen is here tonight, so
I did.
next resolution is resolution number 86 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To amend Resolution 66.25 of the year 2025 to appoint individuals to various part-time positions and duties for the calendar year of 2025.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 87 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To amend Resolution 67.25 of the year 2025 to appoint employees to various additional duties for the calendar year 2025.
Is there any discussion?
I'll have to recuse myself from this, given my relationship with Miss Megan Griffin.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, then do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad? You said you recused yourself?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
4 yes, 1 recused.
resolution passes. Next resolution is resolution number 88 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To appoint members of the Town of Rotterdam Conservation Advisory Council.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
5 yes.
resolution passes. Excuse me, I just
Yes.
have to catch up there for a second. Resolution number 89 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
Before we move on, Patty's here. Did you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Patty, I didn't see you. Where are you? There's Patty. I'm sorry. Next resolution is resolution 89 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To accept bid and award contract for Rotterdam Water System Improvements Contract Number 1, well number 6, site fill to Eberhart Excavation.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Schlad. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Next resolution is Resolution 90 of the year 2025. And before, I'm sorry, the clerk will read.
To approve 2024 quarterly expense transfers of gas and diesel.
Okay. I had an email that came in from a resident that was questioning why this one was done this way, so I'm going to ask the attorney to give this person the information.
The question essentially revolved around a question of why taxes were being allocated to Sewer Districts 2 and Water District 5 for the gas, oil, and lube under their understanding that taxes for a district should be borne only by the district. So there's a difference, a fundamental difference between what we know as an ad valorem tax and general funds tax appropriations and movements. An ad valorem tax is what this individual is thinking of. That is where, like the Water District 5 project, the highly touted $34 million project, that cost becomes an ad valorem tax that's borne by the specific district which will be benefited by that project. That becomes the specific tax for that. However, that does not mean that your taxes do not go to specific funded funds for things that involve other districts. Like this one, if you follow along on the resolutions at all, you'll see that the general fund on Sewer District 2 is from a line item that specifically says central gas expenditure. What that means is this fund item was created for the specific purpose of paying out gas and oil and diesel expenses for that district. So it's just moving from one fund to the other fund. But it is not an ad valorem tax where it's a specific project that was done for that district and only benefits that district, which is where only that district bears the burden of that tax. And I hope that explains it a little bit based off the question that we got based off the email. Anything to add?
The budget, year to year, we base our expenses on things like that based on what the actual real expenses are. So if we have to adjust the budget somewhat, it's just a tweaking.
Yeah.
We try to assess, for gasoline or oil, amongst the different districts and different departments that would have to use what we, collectively purchase. It's just a budgeting technique that we have.
Plenty of tax dollars go to multiple different districts for different purposes. But yes, if this was a specific project that was for that district, only that district would pay that tax, and it wouldn't come from out-of-district taxpayers. But when it comes to general maintenance or expenditures for a specific district, that will come from general funds versus, which comes from everybody's taxes, not just that specific district's taxes.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, again, just the quick summary on it is we budget a certain amount of fuel for our Water District number 5 and a certain amount of fuel for Sewer District number 2. As it indicates in the resolution, again, there's a central fuel. It all goes to one place. Whatever the prorated amount based upon usage for those districts, they have to pay their prorated share of it. That's all this is trying to do. So again, yes, we do budget for fuel for those districts. It's in those special districts already allocated, and they're just paying their share of that fuel.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion on resolution number 90?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 91 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc. for GIS annual licensee subscription services.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 92 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP for the Rotterdam Police Department.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Schlad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 93 of the year 2025, clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with KB Engineering and Architect PC for the professional engineering services related to the wastewater treatment plant chemical bulk storage application assistance.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 94 of the year 2025, clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with KB Engineering and Architect PC for the professional engineering services related to the town leak detection summary.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Schlag. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 95 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with KB Engineering and Architect PC for the professional engineering services related to the Helderberg tank painting project.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 96 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with environmental and fueling services for the decommissioning of the underground fuel tank at the Rotterdam Police Department.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Schlag. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 97 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with environmental and fueling services for the removal and replacement of the above-ground storage tank at the water treatment plant.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 98 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To authorize the purchase of 1 pickup truck for the Water and Sewer Maintenance Department.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
I'm gonna vote no.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 99 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
Call for bids for highway materials, crushed limestone, gravel, and sand.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Schlag. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 100 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
Call for bids for highway materials, manhole frames, grates, and manhole square and round risers.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 101 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
Call for bids for tree cutting and removal services.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make-
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Dodson made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 102 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Coster for preventative maintenance evaluations for the pump stations.
Is Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Jack, could you kind of guide us through like how often this sort of thing needs to be done?
Boy, that's a good one, Joe. This particular proposal from Kester is, they specialize in maintenance of pump stations. These 6 pump stations have been on our radar for quite a long time. They date back to 1987. I would say these pump stations are in very bad condition. This proposal that we see in front of us is just an evaluation of the floors. A lot of these pump stations, you open a lid at the top and they go down about 4 feet, and it's made out of steel. Steel in a sewage environment is not the greatest thing, and considering their age, they're pretty rusty. This is just buying us time. We have a detailed engineering report to actually upgrade these pump stations. It's approximately $6 million. We're going to be needing to move on the $6 million improvement project, but in the interim, we're going to see if we can keep the glue together for these floors.
Okay.
So,
Some duct tape proverbially.
yes.
And blah, blah, blah. Is there any other further discussion on Resolution 102?
I'll move.
Okay, motion was made by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 103 of the year 2025, clerk will read.
To adopt a secret negative declaration on a change of zone application on a plus or minus 2.41 acres parcel from single-family residential R1 to multi-family R3 located at 759 Peter Road.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
No.
4 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 104 of the year 2025, the clerk will read.
To enact local law number 3 of 2025 to amend chapter 270 zoning of the town code relating to a change of zone on a plus or minus 2.41 acres parcel from single-family residential R1 to multifamily R3 located at 759 Peter Road.
Is there any discussion?
Molly, I have a few comments. I was really disappointed to read in the planning notes that Mr. Clark Collins had mentioned that he would do everything in his power to make sure that this was shot down. Now, everybody is entitled to their opinion, but when we have someone on a planning commission who is married to our supervisor, you can understand how me as a board member would be very concerned about that, because I do believe we need to look at every single project and be extremely objective, because perspective, we've been through this ourselves as homeowners. Your perspective is going to change based on who you are, and it's our job, we were elected, to be very objective about this. So it's not a matter of what you would want, it's a matter of what makes sense for that if you look at all the facts. So I just want to say that, I have compassion for, everybody's perspective, but I can assure you that I do my homework when it comes to all these projects. And, when I'm looking at this, which I have been for quite some time, I want to just say that we approved the stewards, and we worked really hard with the planning commission to make sure that that is the nicest stewards you will ever see. And I want to just say that I'm very comfortable with the fact that our planning team really looks at plans. So when we say that condos affect the character of the neighborhood, it's perspective. It could affect it in a negative, but it also could affect it in a very positive manner. Encroaching of business, and one of the things that I'm working really hard on is economic development and attracting businesses. in increasing the tax base, looking at the comprehensive plan, and making sure that it makes sense to keep us looking like a town, but also having great character. And is it a clear benefit to the community? Because I've heard this. I'm really looking at a lot of these comments because I want this to make sense. And is it a clear benefit to the community? Again, we've heard several cases where there are real estate agents and other folks who do see the benefit. And so maybe as a homeowner in that community, I know sometimes it's hard to accept some change, and I understand. Again, we've been through it ourselves. Comments that it's not our job or responsibility to make a particular property owner money. I also want to say it's also not our job to deny a lifelong resident and business owner the opportunity to succeed in business or deny local construction workers the ability to work on projects in Rotterdam. Again, it's perspective. Where are you sitting? And then I read something that said the audacity of this builder to disregard the single homeowners who have invested in this community for decades. As you heard from several of these letters, this particular builder and developer has been in our community. He's helped build our community. His children went to our schools.
That has nothing to do with zoning.
I understand. So I'm just putting it out there that, you know, as far as privacy, from everything I've looked at, and believe me, I've looked at it, there are several buffers here. They've made a lot of accommodations, and it's not done because if this goes through, you still have a say in working, you know, with the planning commission and with this particular developer.
Okay.
So that's what I have to say.
Okay. You know, it's really funny. I have the verbatim minutes too, because I was told what my husband had said. And it's really funny that after almost 50 years of marriage, I cannot control what my husband said. But if you read the top line, which was long before I became supervisor, it says, it says, this is my husband speaking, yeah, I've seen this project. This is the third time. I voted it down every time, and I plan on doing it again tonight. So tell me how I influenced him, because if I influenced my husband, I'd be living in a ranch house now instead of a 2-floor house, all right? So the minute that he did, and I'll be the first to admit, my husband can fly off the handle. What he said was, and as far as I'm concerned, and my wife's on the town board, I will fight tooth and nail to make sure this doesn't go through because you deserve your privacy. Now let's look at my voting record. Before it even went to the Planning Commission, when it was brought up here for us to send it to the Planning Commission, I voted no. So either I'm clairvoyant and I knew what my husband was going to say, and I said no beforehand, or my husband has his thoughts and I have mine. Now, if you go back to 2021, I walked around this 131 out of the 400 streets Rotterdam has, and I carried a petition because I wanted to stop the apartments that were going to be built on the old Nay Party farm, 182 of them, right by the circle where Hamburg and Curry Road hits. I have been against apartments since long before I even ran for office. I grew up here. I wanted to stay a bedroom community. When I talked to people as I walked around, they left the city so that they would have neighborhoods that they could walk around on. And to imply that anything that I was influencing my husband or he was influencing me is baloney. Because as I say, I voted not to send it to the Planning Commission because I don't like this program. And since it's been voted down 3 times, I'm assuming previous boards did it. Now, I happen to have worked over at the Senior Center for 12 years. And if this developer was going to put up either a Father Leo O'Brien, an Edison Manor, or a Holly Manor, I would be all over it. I would be all for it. You know why? Because any senior who goes there can go there and they pay what they can afford, whether it's $100 or $1,000. Now, my husband and I are both retired. I'm 69, he's 72, all right? If I was lucky enough to get somebody to buy my house for $200, let's say even $250,000. So we're going to sell our house. We're gonna move into a condo that costs a minimum of $350,000. And I'm assuming if I want any upgrades, you know, granite countertops, this or that, that it's gonna cost me more. So at our ages, at 69 and 72, I'm gonna have either a $100,000 or a $150,000 mortgage. I don't think my husband and I have enough money to afford that, and I'm pretty sure we'll be dead before it's paid off.
Talk to Mr. Dobson.
So, anyway, you can say whatever you want.
Not
You
me,
can think
him.
that, you can think that I somehow influenced my husband. No, I didn't. He got a stern talking to after this was said. All right? But like I said, in nearly 50 years of marriage, and we will be married 50 years this September 20th, okay, I haven't controlled the man, nor has he controlled me. So that's my answer to Mrs. Galucci's bringing this whole system up.
Thank
And
you.
if anybody wants a copy of this, I'll gladly give it to you.
I just want to interject, again, definition.
Thank you, Mrs.
This
Collins.
is not, again, apartments. This is a condominium complex, okay? There's a difference, especially in ownership. In addition to that, I mean, I can use my own personal reference. I graduated from college. The very first place that I bought was a condo. That's all I could afford. Enjoyed my condo. Got to meet lots of different people. And, you know, in all communities, and keep in mind that Rotterdam is indeed a bedroom community. Yeah, I'd love to say that Rotterdam should be just a single-family home community, but that's not reality in this day and age. I have young children. When I say young, in their 20s, they and their friends, when I say, hey, you guys need to own a single-family home, that is not what they come to me and say. They come to me and say the same thing that I said to myself when I graduated from college is, I couldn't afford a single-family home. Single-family homes in Rotterdam are pretty expensive. Now, I grant you, they're talking these homes are in the 300,000s. You know, I'm very surprised too. I bought my home in Rotterdam, 25 years ago. And like Molly just stated, I bought my house for $250,000. I can go right now and look at any of the websites, and my home is now $500,000. When young people are looking at homes in Rotterdam, $250,000, you're going to get a $250,000 home initially in Rotterdam, okay? You're getting homes in Rotterdam now that are in the 300,000s, okay? So we can't be using references from the 2000s to say, hey, that's the cost of housing. We know that is not the cost of housing anymore. And there is a need for housing across the board, not only, again, when we're talking homes that are median-sized homes that might be 300,000, we have a need for affordable housing in Rotterdam. And affordable housing, it's two components in my mind. Molly talks about seniors. We need, indeed, affordable housing for seniors. 5 years ago, my wife and I brought her parents to Rotterdam, and they bought a little small cottage home in Rotterdam. And they paid for more than that home than we did for our two-story colonial home, okay? There are people that want to move to Rotterdam that need apartments, and I will profess that I, too, was not in favor of apartments at the time because I felt that we had too many apartments. Any community's got to balance the percentage of apartments. I think the city of Schenectady really saw that play out over time. Rotterdam is in about the 25%. That's actually not a bad place for Rotterdam to be. Do we want Rotterdam to go to 30, 40, 50%? No. You know, again, I don't think that apartment owners have the same community aspects as a single-family private residence, or, in my mind, a condominium, okay? I think Attorney Brick brought up all the different condominiums that are in Rotterdam. I've been to many of them. I have family, I have friends that live in condominiums. Indeed, they're very nice places to live. There's seniors, many seniors live in our condominiums. So am I opposed to a condominium project, and do I compare it to an apartment? No. We look at, hey, does it change the character of the neighborhood? I could say no. In all the cases where we have condominiums, White Birch is a classic example in my mind on Helzberg Avenue. it meshes extremely well with the single-family homes that are in the neighborhood. And many of the other places that, Helderberg Meadows, another very good example of wonderful single-family homes. There was a component, an option to have condominiums in there. They're all full, and I believe all the people that are in those condominiums enjoy it. So then we get down to other issues. Is there a good water supply for this location? Absolutely. Is there sewer? I'm not happy with the whole sewer situation here. I think there was an opportunity in the past to, in my mind, put real sewer out that area. The major infrastructure's already there. The agreement with the city's there. If there's a downfall in this project, it would have been nice to have it connected to the municipal sewer. And I know the reason why it can't be. But in my mind, a little bit of a downfall in the project. As we know with Stewart's, traffic is always an issue, okay? So I'm not so certain when the Planning Commission made their recommendation on this that they even had the report from the traffic engineer at the time. And I believe they have just as much opportunity to request these plans as a town board might be when we make a zone change. There's 12 trip counts here, okay? Do 12 trip counts matter in some locations? Absolutely. If you're at the intersection of Helderberg and Curry Road and, you think of the volume of traffic and what the designation of that intersection is, extremely poor. Curry Road and Altamont Avenue, very poor. But they're lights, okay, very congested commercial areas. This is High Bridge, okay? I know there's traffic that goes down High Bridge, but it's nothing like traffic that we have on Curry Road, okay? And I understand you guys don't want a Curry Road. We don't want a Curry Road there either. We want a nice neighborhood. We believe, again, from the board standpoint, improving the zone change and Stewart's, that we're trying to set up a nice entry gateway coming into the community. You got to look at, is this complements, okay, the gateway coming in the community? From my standpoint, I believe it does. So that's where I stand, and I'll wait till we do the vote.
So I'll be quick. I was the only board member that did not vote for Stewart's. Had Stewart's build on that current business property that without going and trying to rezone the residential, that was my big issue, was losing those residential properties. But I truly believe there's a shortage of housing in general. There's a shortage of housing in Rotterdam. $300,000 does seem expensive, but like Jack said, if you start to look at the increase in real estate in the area, it's really not. When I bought my first house, it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was $86,000. I moved to Philadelphia area, and I couldn't afford a house, so I bought a townhouse. And I was in that townhouse long enough until I could, afford a larger single-family home, or maybe not. Maybe I wanted to stay in that townhouse. So, Mr. Lewandowski is a lifetime Rotterdam resident. He's grown up in this area. It's not like, in my opinion, a builder that's coming from downstate New York that's coming up here to make profit. And I don't have a problem making profit. My father was a builder, so my father invested in properties to make a profit. That's the capitalist society that we live in. So I have every confidence that he will build something of substance there. And again, as we mentioned before, there is an ability to work with the Planning Commission and work with the developer to have some give and take as to what would be more palatable for the people in the area. I know Stewart's definitely did that, and I will give kudos to Stewart's that they worked with the residents that had concerns there. It's one thing I will say for Stewart's. They were a good business partner in trying to help the community. So that's my take. I can appreciate where y'all are coming from, though, too. So I don't discount that. But I think that this is going to end up ultimately adding to the tax base, adding to the school tax base, as well as it's going to add to the value of the homes in that community as well.
I make a motion to pass.
Let me ask, Is there anybody else who has anything else to say?
I mean, I have some thoughts I was going to say when I voted. You know, I want to thank Mr. Morgan for and everybody that's here for your continued, you know, communication of your thoughts and concerns, and we, you know, we do hear them, and I want to address them tonight. You know, one of the things, Tom, you said was, you know, Highbridge Manor should retain its zoning, and we absolutely agree. In fact, you know, the comprehensive plan that we passed in 2022, that was the main criteria that people said. I mean, an overwhelming response. People, we want to maintain the character of our neighborhoods, okay? But the comprehensive plan also identified we need to expand our tax base. We have a lot of infrastructure that we need to fund somehow. And what we have as assets in our community are what is known as gateways and corridors. Okay, so the gateways into our community from Altamont Avenue or Crane Street, but also 3 throughway exits, 4 exits off of 890, exit 8 right there. And the corridors throughout our town, although we have a lot of neighborhoods, you know, we have Curry Road, we have Hamburg Street, we have Main Street in the Junction, we have Campbell Road, and we have Highbridge Road. And those areas are where development can occur. That's that's where atypical to single-family homes, development of such can occur. And development is good. Construction is good. It enhances the neighborhood, and that's what we want. And I think with this project that Charlotte Builders has brought, will blend in and enhance property values, and you know, in go with the spirit of our comprehensive plan. A couple things I want to mention. Big issues that have come up is traffic on Peter Road, and what does that what does that mean? You know, really what I think it is it's speeding, with people blowing through the stop signs and just.
If you'll excuse me.
Yeah. If I don't mind.
No, this is the point for discussion.
Yeah.
After we can.
Well, you're bringing it up, so
Yeah, you're bringing
give
it
us
up.
a chance to respond.
It's just,
This is not a public forum at this point. This is just the board's.
Yeah, no, and I've heard what everybody's had to say. I'm sorry that we have to abide by such formality, but it is helpful if everybody follows the rules so that things can,
Yeah.
we can proceed
But you're
accordingly.
You're voting tonight on the zone change, and you're not giving us a chance to respond to you. I got it, I understand.
I understand, I really do understand.
I mean, are we
understand the
adults? Is
frustration.
this?
No, we're not
It's
adults.
not, it's not
You're
picture
still here.
protected.
No.
I think Molly speaks.
I think that, I understand, and I think we've heard very clearly. We might have all interpreted it different ways, but we all paid attention, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I truly believe we all paid attention to what members of the Highbridge area were speaking about. Again, we all chose to vote the way that we wanted to vote. So, you know, right now, Mr. Mastriani, we've all had a chance to speak. Mr. Mastriani wants to point out some of the things that I'm assuming is what made up his mind to vote whatever way he's going to vote. And right now, he has the floor. So go ahead, Mr.
Thank you,
Mastriani.
Madam Supervisor. You know, I was gonna put Sergeant Verone on the spot. Sorry to do it, Tony, but Sergeant Tony Verone is our traffic coordinator in the town. So when I get feedback from residents all throughout town, in Colonial Manor, Colebrook, my street, everybody's street, and it's hard for our police force to really kind of stay on top of it. But Sergeant Verone, if you wanted to, you know, share your thoughts on the evaluation of Peter Road speeding and blowing stop signs and traffic, feel free. If there's anything you wanted to add additionally that hasn't already been said.
I'm going to hold on.
Okay, absolutely. You know, and another thing that I want to address, okay, a couple other things. You know, there's some language in the anonymous letter, you know, and it said, you know, it's going to destroy the neighborhood. And that's a bit hyperbolic. Again, I want to emphasize, that our desire is to enhance the neighborhood. Listen, if when Mr. Lewandowski approached the town, I wanted to see retail there. I thought maybe a competing coffee shop or something, a business, mixed use, would enhance people in the neighborhood, and I do think Stewart's is, a lot of people on Mercer and Sherman, when I spoke to them, said that, they welcome, being able to get ice cream right away or milk or coffee in the morning. Steenberg Engineering has done a traffic analysis. The people aren't going to be turning down Peter Road and into the neighborhood. And the demographic is clearly young professionals and seniors that have looked to downsize. I too have owned a condo for 6 years, and I too campaigned with Supervisor Collins and Deputy Supervisor Dodson in 2021 around the aggressive apartment expansion that the previous town board was pursuing, because it creates traffic. And to Ms. Terojan's comment, the traffic on Curry Road is bad. It's very bad. But is the traffic on High Bridge so impediment to?
You don't know until
are we, why?
I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but.
Go ahead, Joe.
Just speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your
In the anonymous letter also, the 14 acres across, well, let me say this real quick. The anonymous letter said not someone's bank account. That, I think, narrative has stemmed from words that I've used in previous meetings regarding the potential development of single-family homes on that site. It's not, you're not going to see, and Mr. Morgan, thank you for the history, going back into the beginning of the High Bridge Manor. I indicated that, the natural free market, now the government here doesn't have the power to just build whatever we want, and that's our system, and I believe that that's a good system. The free market determines it, and the free market isn't going to build single-family houses here, whether for economic, cost of construction materials, or, what someone's going to want to, spend, to be there. And I do think that this project will blend in. I think it will enhance the community. I think it makes sense for a lot of people. I mean, 15 minutes you're in Albany, you get right on 890. I think you're gonna see people throughout the Capital District want to locate in Rotterdam and spend the money that these condos will get. And on St. Lucille, I spoke to the residents there, and we want to just build. We want to make sure, through the process of building, that this is not going to, peek into people's backyards. That it's actually going to beautify the property 360 degrees around, and that's what I believe is going to happen here. And finally, I'd just like to address, that yes, the change of zoning at this time, in this location, is in coordination with our comprehensive plan and is in coordination with the neighborhood. But the 14 acres across the street, that's a much bigger property. And if future town boards do change the zoning there, that will have a tremendous effect, or a much bigger effect. Right now, it's zoned agricultural, which I think is awesome. And the people that live there actually farm the land. And that's a unique and awesome thing for our town, our community, and I'd like to see that operation thrive and grow and continue into the future. And I hope that economics can support that. I'm in the food business, and it's unfortunate that large-scale mega farming is kind of boxed out. Small local-scale farming, so it's so important that we support it, and we support them there. But we also start to think about, that property, and what it can be and what it can someday be, and that's an issue for a different time. So I'd like to make a motion that we enact local law 3 of 2025.
Okay, motion was made by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Bellucci. On the question, Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
So I'm going to vote in favor of yes for the local law.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Okay, you ready for this? No.
4 yes, 1 no.
Thank you, Mrs.
Resolution
Collins.
passes. That was a big shock to everybody, wasn't it? Okay, our last resolution of the night is Resolution 105 of the year 2025. The clerk will read.
To extend the term of the Energy Advisory Committee.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes, there's, I think, a little confusion as, I initiated this committee, that the committee itself has an expiration term, forcing a group of volunteers to arbitrarily race a timeline to do work that ultimately we are the body that has to vote on. In our other committees, and I should say too, there aren't official members of the Veterans Committee that attend and are a part of the process. But in our other committees, we have staggered terms, and the deliberation of the town board is for the individual that could fill that seat. It's my understanding, although there's been some confusion among certain between myself and conversations I've had with certain members of that committee, and I've heard, that, members feel like they have worked extremely hard in creating the solar code and are now working very hard on battery energy system code, that at the end of their 2-year term, they will step down, and that's noble and respectful, and I can completely understand it. But I am learning that there are members of this committee that would like to continue on, and I would like to mention that prior to our administration, there was not an energy committee, and I saw a need not only in helping aggregate the diverse opinions around renewable energy and solar panels into a body that would speak for the majority of the people. There is also the concern just the amount of energy that we use, whether as a municipality or as a community at large. We take for granted, flicking on the light switch and having energy at our disposal. But we have to be stewards of how that energy is created and how we use that energy and how we build our town facilities. And there's, plenty going on at the state level with NYSERDA that, we can take advantage of. And, I see it appropriate that, an energy committee can assist the town of Rotterdam, which does not have an energy department, which is, short-staffed in many, many areas, especially when it comes to, getting grants, that, we continue having such a committee. And the resolution tonight is to extend the term two months, so that, these volunteers can hurry up and try and put together as good of a document as they did with the solar code in terms of battery energy storage system code, which is evolving, extremely fast, is very complex, has a lot of issues and concerns, and it's something that, honestly, as I've learned and evaluated it, that the town of Rotterdam should not have battery energy storage systems. We don't have a municipal water delivery infrastructure to be able to sustain putting out a fire for 7 consecutive days. So for right now, it's out of the question. In the past, I actually really liked the idea of batteries as opposed to solar, because solar is intermittent in this climate, and it really, the economics of it really don't work out, and it depresses property values, and it displaces wildlife ecosystems, and it changes the character of our town, affects property values. I thought that battery energy storage systems, which could be a little more discreet in storage containers or whatever, could actually be something that we could allow. Because we have major transmission lines that come right through our borders and offer property owners the opportunity to be able to make money by bringing in these projects. But we also sit atop the aquifer. We have an aquifer recharge zone. We have elevations that pitch down to the aquifer, and we don't have a municipal water delivery infrastructure that can support it. And I feel bad because this energy committee has worked so hard and so diligent and so committed and so admirable in jumping from creating what I think is the best solar code in New York State to then with this tackle battery energy storage system code, and we've got a resolution that we're only going to allow their body to technically exist for 2 more months. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to vote against it, but I am going to bring forward a motion that any of the members that are currently on the committee that want to continue on, that we can maybe discuss staggered lengths of term so that future town boards, if they see fit, continue to allow a committee such as the Energy Committee to assess the energy usage our town facilities use, help guide us as we update our wastewater treatment plant, our court and police station, our highway garage, that these projects are done as most responsibly as possible, that we take advantage of any rebates or charging station opportunities or solar canopies in our parking lots. I think that that'd be a great asset to the town.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mrs. Galucci. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
So on the resolution to extend it for 2 months, I'm going to say yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
No.
Mrs. Galucci?
I'm also a liaison for this energy committee, and we've done a lot of work. I do think by extending it for 2 months, we can wrap up a huge portion of this. So I thank everyone for allowing us to do that. And so I will vote yes for the additional 2 months.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. And that concludes our resolutions for this evening. Does anybody, any of our board members, have anything to say under liaison reports?
Molly, I have a few things. We met with Metroplex yesterday to just review some of the 2024 accomplishments and discuss what we're going to collaborate on in 2025. So our focus does continue to be corridors, and we're trying to execute on the comprehensive plan. We never did have a team to actually execute on that, although we have one. And I'm also looking forward to touring CTDI in the industrial park soon to see the progress that they made. I went there before anybody moved in. It's a great project. It's a communication test design, engineering, repair, logistics. Molly and I took a tour through it before they opened, and then we're going to plan another tour. But now we have 200 great paying jobs there. It's 200,000 square feet of building, and it's pretty exciting for us to have that there. I'm gonna attend the AOT meeting this week, and some of their updates will include the town mandates and wetlands, the executive budget, recent legislation regarding AIM funding, infrastructure, municipal workforce, improving ambulance service funding. And then on Monday, Jack and I will attend the AOT annual conference in New York City. We're looking forward to sharing just any important information that we can bring back from there for the residents and for the rest of the board. And then on the 22nd, I'm honored to attend the South Schenectady Fire Department installation dinner, where we'll be celebrating a lot of the accomplishments of our local firefighters. And then on 2/27, I'll be attending a complimentary training on translating comprehensive plans into land use. And from an energy perspective, we meet again on the February 13th and the 20th. We're going to focus on battery storage energy and then on wind. And also I wanted to mention something because I feel it's important. National Grid is proposing a 15% rate increase for electricity. And the Public Service Commission is inviting the public to make comments. So if you could if you do have comments, you can go and make your comments on their site.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, when you mentioned the energy, and I'm just thinking about home, not even the town. It's like our bills have been raised
Yeah,
so much.
I
It's
mean,
like,
this is
oh my God, how are
this is
gonna
where we
afford
can
it?
make comments, so that's why I'm mentioning it, because I know people probably don't go out and look at the website. From a Conservation Advisory Committee, we had a really exciting kickoff this week for our natural resources inventory. A lot of the towns have that, we don't have it, so we will. And so we had a lot of people show up, and we're partnering with a company called Histonia, and we're just going to be identifying land use, and we'll be, when we develop this, the Planning Commission can work with this too. And so we'll share it with you as we go forward. We expect that to be done at the end of summer. And then on 2/24, a lot of our committee members will attend. We're going to partner with Glenville Conservation Committee, and they're doing a presentation on nuclear New York. And we're just going to learn about their recent news and initiatives. We just felt like that was a very important thing to do. And we're also, we have a couple of our members just meeting with DEC and a couple other entities to just look at some programs and some grants that we can work with. I mean, we have some work down at some of the parks, down by the mall, and if we can get funding through DEC or any other entity, we're going to try to do that. So we're working really hard for all of you, and just to see, you know, what money we can get and what improvements we can make. So thank you.
Do any of the other board members have anything under liaisons? Do any of the board members have anything under miscellaneous that they'd like to speak about? No? Okay. Then do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Too many voices. I think I heard Mrs. Gucci. There is seconded by Mrs. Gucci. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you.